Hi, this is Matt with State of Flux here to talk to you about Kevin Smith's sequel to Clerks, originally titled The Passion of the Clerks, later retitled to just Clerks II. This movie, as I stated before with my Jersey Girl review, is sort of the pivot point of Kevin Smith's career. During the first half, those first six movies, Clerks through Jersey Girl, there was some kind of upward momentum. With Clerks, it was him getting into the industry. With Mallrats, this was his first studio film. With Chasing Amy, it was his first rebound from a tremendous flop. Dogma was easily his most ambitious film, and still honestly kind of remains that to this day. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was a great culmination and farewell to the View Askew universe as he had laid it out, and Jersey Girl was his first true effort of making a mainstream motion picture, right? But with each of those movies came like a little microcosm of doubt that was kind of planted into Smith the filmmaker's state of mind. And with the colossal, I don't want to say failure, but the misstep in terms of audience and critical reaction, at least at the time with Jersey Girl, you could really see a shift in Smith's directorial motivation. Gone was the notion that he was going to try to be a filmmaker that moves beyond or out of the View Askew universe that he had already laid out and try to really make it as a true artistic talent, even within like the studio system, and replaced was a sense of I'm not going anywhere, I haven't changed, and in doing so he delivered Clerks II, which is kind of a great movie, but also kind of a really weak sauce movie. This is one that my opinion on it has changed over time, especially seeing the trajectory of his career afterwards. Upon its original release, I, along with I think a lot of people, had a lot of doubts with the movie. Like, why go back and sequelize Clerks? Like, enough had been said with Clerks. It's cool revisiting those characters every couple movies, like with their cameo in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, or their TV show, the Clerks TV show, the cartoon. But I didn't really think that there was a necessity to a sequel. And the movie that was delivered was considerably better than what we got. I think everybody was expecting oh man, I'm still not supposed to be here today kind of gags and stuff like that, and essentially just a reframing of the same exact movie that he did the first time around. And you didn't get that with the movie. He did something unique and interesting by setting it up inside of the convenience store and then shifting to movies and then shifting it back to the convenience store at the end. And that stuff works. There's elements of this movie that work at the highest level of any of Smith's movies. But this movie also comes with a lot of lows. The humor of this film really doesn't play well. Like, easily of the first 7 movies of his, this being the 7th one, I think this is the least funny of all of them. It has a couple of moments that are really laugh out loud, but most of the time the humor in this movie feels incredibly forced, or just like there's a big old farcical joke and we're not in on it. I think the whole donkey show scene is kind of like the easy fingers to point at. Like, Smith found that way funnier than literally anybody else did. But what really works is the sentimentality and the dramatic arcs of the film. The whole Dante-Becky storyline really plays really well, and Rosario Dawson really sings in those scenes. The interplay between Dante and Randall is really quite strong, and it builds upon what we've seen with those two characters in the previous works. The Elias stuff didn't really play for me even then. However, I think that Trevor Furman, I believe is his name, gives a really solid performance. He plays that character well. He's just not really a particularly likable or interesting character, at least for me. And I thought Jen Schwalbach did a pretty good performance as Dante's fiance. And then Jay and Silent Bob are great. All the Jay and Silent Bob stuff really kind of worked for me. And the new and improved Jason Mewes, free of like the drugs and stuff like that, singing songs and being all Jesus preachy. Some of that stuff is the humor that lands the best in the film. But even with the stuff that works, the dramatic elements, there seems to be a backpedaling. As I mentioned, there was a forward momentum with all of his films, and the like core thesis of this film is sort of don't live your life according to anybody else's standards, which is something that I think is a good sentiment. However, I feel like he's using this film to tell the audience and to tell his critics, like, hey, like, everybody thought I could be a filmmaker, and Jersey Girl is proof positive that I can't be, because critics didn't like it, and I tried. Audiences didn't like it, and I tried. So therefore, I'm going to give you the easy film next, the easy film to swallow, by diving right back into what I kind of used to do. And it feels inauthentic. The drama of the narrative works, but the humor doesn't, because it just feels so forced. The Lord of the Rings gag just doesn't play. Like, I like his like walking and then throwing that. I remember seeing Kevin Smith in about 2004, 2005, and he did that same joke to everybody at a St. Cloud Q&A at a college there. And like, seeing it in person is kind of funny, but in the way it plays in the movie is just completely unfunny, uncompelling, and it doesn't say anything. His previous movies were kind of like a love letter to media, with having these pop culture junkies just like spouting out pop culture references and stuff and dissecting them. There was no dissection with that. It's just him kind of shitting on Lord of the Rings for 3 minutes in the middle of this movie, and using Star Wars to shit on Lord of the Rings, but then kind of turning it back on Star Wars. There's no real dissection there. It's just shitting on prequels and the new thing that kind of took over Star Wars' popularity for a short time there in the 2000s. Like, all of it just seems forced. I think that he was trying so hard to recapture what people wanted from those Jay and Silent Bob movies with this movie, to try to prove that he's still that guy. He's not going away. Jersey Girl was a one-off fluke. That's never happening again. And that is really kind of disappointing. Because if he really analyzed, live your life according to your own standards, nobody else's, he would have still continued to try to be the filmmaker that he wanted to be. On the Making of Chasing Amy documentary, he, as well as the book that Miramax had printed, he references that film critic who kind of gave him the heartfelt authority to try to deliver a story that was a comedy, but kind of void of like comedic moments, and just have like some comedic dialogue here and there, but ultimately was a love story. Smith's movies work when they're being sentimental, and this points to that. The sentimental moments of this, the love triangle between Dante and the two women, culminating with his accepting his love for Becky, as well as the Dante Randall stuff, really play well. Like Randall's jail cell scene where the two are bickering and fighting with each other moves me to tears every single time I see it. It really works. And then the sentimentality of ending the thing back in quick stop as the camera pulls it back and goes to black and white, that really works. That's the authentic Kevin Smith that we saw glimpses of with this film, but was truly what Jersey Girl, Chasing Amy, Dogma, and even Clerks all represent. Um, and this is one of the last times you get to see that version of him for many, many years. Zack and Miri touches on that again, but then it's a long time before we get the truthfully honest Kevin Smith. And even with that last film that I'll talk about, there's still like a caveat that goes with that. So anyway, that's my diatribe here. I think Clerks 2 is a good movie. I liked it a lot when I first saw it, but with repeated viewings, it really just doesn't hold up to water. Originally, I said this stands shoulder to shoulder with Clerks, but now it's a far cry from. That said, it has 3 scenes that I think play exceptionally well. I like the opening and closing scenes with Quick Stop. The last 20 minutes, jail cell onwards, is pitch perfect. And if the whole movie had maintained that honesty, I think this would have been his best film. That's his finest example of 20 minutes of screen time. And I think I like the little goofy dance scene with Becky teaching Dante, and the scene right before the bachelor party scene, where we just dip into all the characters' lives right before the moment when all of it changes, over 1979 Smashing Pumpkins song. So it has those moments, but the moments in between really kind of sink the film. This feels way longer than an hour and 37 minutes. And it shouldn't. You watch Clerks, and Clerks zips by real fast, even though it's the same exact length almost. So yeah, Clerks 2 is worth seeing, especially if you're a fan, for that culmination of the film and when it is being honest with himself. I give it 3 stars out of 4. But yeah, moving on after Clerks 2, we have one last traditional View Askew film before we dip into a completely different career path for Smith for a little while. Up next is Zack and Miri Make a Porno, and I'll have that review out to you next week. Thanks for watching. And let me know, am I wrong? Did you like Clerks 2 better than Clerks? I think at the time the sentiment was this was equal to, if not better than, the first film. Where does it land 15 years later? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. Peace. I meant to do this, not that. So, peace.